of New Eden podcast starts now. Enjoy the show.
You think you know me, but really you don't. You think you can see me, but really you won't. You may wanna hear me, or maybe you won't. New Eden is full of deceit. No need to feel discreet. Just think before you unlock. No need to fight the clock. Out here in the void we roam. In the stars we find our home. Shadows whisper in the night. Promises they own the light. Trust is but a fleeting ghost. In this world we chase the most. Planets spin in endless space. We drift through a vast embrace. Risk it all in this grand game. But remember, no one's the same. Dive into the unknown. Guide your ship alone. New Eden's where we'll play. No secrets will betray. Shadows whisper in the night. Promises they own the light. Trust is but a fleeting ghost. In this world we chase the most. Planets spin in endless space. We drift through a vast embrace. Risk it all in this grand game. But remember, no one's the same. Dive into the unknown. Guide your ship alone. New Eden's where we'll play. No secrets will betray.
And welcome everybody to Echoes of New Eden podcast. I wanted to bust out with that song since I think it is rather intriguing as far as the events that had happened this last week. And believe it or not, I'd actually written that and made that song like well over a year ago, but I've never really played it or released it. But oddly enough, I remembered it and I was like, you know what? That would be awesome to start out with. So welcome everybody. Welcome. It is just I, Rambo, here for you guys today. And I couldn't get a hold of Juby, so there's no comedic relief there at the time, or for this time being. And yeah, we got a number of things to talk about. And basically, it's just the big news that has happened in this last week. So I do have a couple topics. I got some notes to go off of to keep me on track. But of course, we all know as to what happened to Taylor. What happened to Taylor Ricks. So we're going to cover all of that, as well as some of my thoughts. And we had the first super vac go down. And that happened yesterday, and it was a whole wipe. And so I got some stats and some kill mails and stuff for you to show there. And believe it or not, OC Can't Stop is back from his hiatus. So we'll discuss just a little bit on that, a tad, as to what's all going on in Provi. So let's get into it, shall we? Now, I do want to report on this because I was rather close with Taylor Rick, as everybody knows. He was part of the podcast. But yeah, it's just a kind of a painful turn of events that had happened this last week with that whole situation. So I'm gonna talk about it. If people have questions or anything, they could put it in the on-air chat. I do have the recording up for that. And WTF happened? Yes, I'll go over it, J Cool. And then I could follow it up with a Q&A, basically. So what happened? Basically, last let's see, Sunday or Monday of just last week after we did a show, in last episode, Taylor brought a guest of his from his corporation, and we had a great episode talking about botting and all that type of stuff, and it was a good episode. And shortly following that episode, it appears that some things were said on some top secret discords, not really top secret, but there's some things that were said on a private Discord server that didn't expect to really get taken out of context or taken as seriously or even leaked at that point. But of course, all of the above did happen. And so here we are. We're gonna discuss it here in a second here. So basically, what had happened was a conversation between a person that was in the corporation BFPC, which is Black Flag, which had recently joined SHH in the last couple months, possibly. I don't know if they've been in the alliance longer than 2 months. I just haven't dug up that info. But basically what was said, and I will put it into context as best as I can based off the screenshots. Now, I am not on that Discord, though I do know people that are on it, and they probably have the full conversation as it goes. But I'm going off of screenshots here, so bear with me, okay? So it does seem like there was some talks about maybe some previous relationships in real life with some girls. Taylor had said, had a girl that dumped him, started dating one of the guys. I told him straight up, fine, but I am going to beat your ass when you least expect it. Then he dumped her. Then he says, bros before hoes, no homo. And a character by the name of Canis Majori replied to this. It said, bro, I'd put a gun to his head and rape both of them for wasting my time. So some further conversation goes down, and Taylor Rick replies to that and says, you fit in so well here. As well as on Canis's comment, Taylor had put a reaction to it, and the reaction's not necessarily a bad one, like you'd expect to be like a thumbs down, but something like maybe he agrees with it type of scenario. So that, in all, that's kind of what had spiked this kind of outrage as to what he had said and in somewhat of the context. So, granted, take it how you please. He did later apologize with that and on that same server, but at this time, by then, and actually before then, these screenshots had gotten leaked out on multiple other servers, including the Gulag. And he had just basically been saying that he was messing around, didn't mean it. He was not agreeing with him. He's trying not to defend that, and so on. And I do have the let's see here. I do have the screenshot. Sorry, this is on the stream. It's not looking very good, but let me go post it in the on-air chat. This is the screenshot of the apology that he had made on that private server. It says, everyone, I fucked up today in a very big way. I apologize for seemingly agreeing with a rape joke I was not. I apologize for it seeming so. I also apologize for not thinking clearly at the time of the discussion and immediately putting the pilot in his place. There are times I do not think of myself as the Fed exec. That is not an excuse. I just don't think that the fact that every time I type something, I am typing something that can and will be used against not only me, but against us. I apologize for that as well. We have all spent too much in this game for me to fuck it so damn fast. You deserve better. So that was his apology statement. And depending on who it is, some did not take it lightly. And there's definitely been people that had left the alliance over this, as well as himself as stepping down as the SHH executor. And as far as I know, Canis Majuri, he made the initial comment about the so-called rape joke, but he was banned from the Discord, and if not all SHH related Discords. And of course, Taylor Rick was accused of agreeing with it. And then later, I believe Canis was also kicked from the corporation of BFPC. So if there's recruiters out there, other alliance leaders that are listening to this, maybe consider, not taking that applicant, whatever he decides to do in this game. But maybe Space Pope will take him. I hear R10 Corporation likes to talk about that stuff. So anyway, we'll get into some of the other stuff here. So Taylor Rick resigns as SHH executor, and this has been leaked as well on multiple Discords as well. So like, I'm not going to be sugarcoating or anything, but this is basically the announcement from our new executor, Winchurst. Okay, so I have up on my screen here the announcement from her. She says, "Hello, everyone. Yesterday, we had some internal Discord conversations that were completely unacceptable conduct by our members and not beholden to our Federation values. These are not SHH values and does not represent us. Taylor Rick has stepped down as SHH executor. We appreciate his countless hours and tireless efforts he put into the Federation and respect his decision. This is a new chapter for the Federation. The important part, the Executive Council is still in place and fully operational. Leadership hasn't skipped a beat, and all core functions continue as normal. And then the military team or leaders are still Rick 6 and Lion Fancy Pants. They're handling the transition internally, and there's zero impact on the pilots, fleets, or Alliance ops. If you have any questions, hit up your corp leads, but otherwise, keep doing what you're doing. More details soon. For now, we're solid. If you have any questions, ask your CEO or Winchurst." So indeed, Winchurst is the new executor of SHH, and we'll get into that here in a little bit as well. So as a person of power, right, an alliance exec, you do not simply say things like that. I mean, it ultimately comes down to what you say on the internet. Of course, it's going to get used against you in a person of power, especially in his power and how well known he was. There's constantly people that are trying to, I don't know, maybe just find things against him, right? And this case bit him in the ass, right? Clerk, making me all smitten in this drudge time. But yeah, and Taylor said it himself, man. He's got to watch what he says, and didn't realize that it could get taken out of such context like it did, or people would reflect their views of him based off that conversation in which all of that happened, of course. And there's a lot of chatter in the alliance, and as well as other discords and other alliances that I've seen screenshots of them, condoning the behavior. Can't believe it. Some were actually agreeing with it, saying that, oh yeah, that's what they're all about, when that's actually not the case. And of course, I'm in SHH as well, and I do see the inside of things. I do see a lot of chatter. I do see or hear, some of the stuff that goes on at leadership level and all that. And that's not the case. So as a whole alliance, no, that is not the case. And people were comparing this instance to, say, SHH from 2020 to 2022, with other executors where somebody would say that and they would get blacklisted right off the bat. Now, maybe during the Taylor reign, maybe some of that stuff was let up. I don't know. But as for corporations and CEOs, they need to really, I don't know, kind of watch out for that type of stuff, or kind of figure who's more prone to making those type of comments and deal with that internally rather than having it done on a more public Discord. So yeah, just saying that stuff is not really that good. Okay, so try not to do it. And the harshness of the community toward it, I get it. It's the executor of an alliance. This has happened before. This is not the first time. When I was talking with my wife about this, I remembered we have spoke about numerous different persons that had either quit the game or ended up inciting, or just making comments about doxing and all that stuff. And a big one, some people may remember, is J Factor back in the day, threatening to dox someone, if I recall correctly. And that potentially even led to wars. That led to him not having fun in the game, not ever again, at least under his normal name. So whether or not he plays the game still, I don't know, unless he, started up a new account and has kind of changed his ways. But again, watching what you say, especially when it comes to like leadership positions and all this, is it's a thing in the politics of Eve Echoes, and even in just the Eve universe. This stuff will be used against you. Stuff gets used against me all the time for the shit that I say on the podcast or even on Discords, and some of it I do say in a joking manner, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit too. But even then, from the outside looking in, it's like, dang, people look at the Alliance and they're like, wow, what a piece of shit they are. When it's not really the case. Judging a whole alliance based off one or two people or even a few. I mean, I don't do that. Do you? Maybe some people do. And honestly, I don't. And that's kind of I think that's the better way of looking at things is, I got some beef with some corporations, but it's not really their corporation. It's the person, right? And then, of course, I'll make fun of that person. Of course, I'm going to poke fun, but I'm going to keep it in the game as well. Now, people make mistakes. People have bad days. They say stupid shit. They get stuff taken out of context. It all happens, right? Another prime example was Master Joda. He departed some months ago, and that was a sad departure, at least I think. And, all the stories that come out about him and all that. And like, man, Joda said some wacky shit. But I loved the guy. He was a great FC. He played the game at a very high level. But man, he said some stupid shit that not even I could even say, like, okay, I agree with that. It's like, damn it, you kind of have to look past that. Well, a lot of people were willing to do that with Joda, but maybe not so much with Taylor Rick. So take that into perspective as well. We're not all perfect. People make mistakes. It's understandable. Even if they do good in the community, even if they intend to do good, they're still flawed as people. And ultimately, that's all of us too. So, yeah, I don't really have much more to say. But, treat others how you want to be treated. Stand up to that behavior. And a lot of people did stand up to that behavior, saying that they don't condone it. Some people were saying, you know what? I hope that he doesn't apologize because I want my executor to stand up to what they say. Granted, he shouldn't have said that. But at the same time, he did admit to his mistake. And, take with it what you wish. Stand up to sexual harassment, especially when it comes to that type of stuff. Rape jokes is never fun. It's never good. I mean, I don't know anybody that says that jokingly anyway. just sexual harassment in general. It's just, why even bring it up? But some people, I guess, just they'd have different standards, their online persona may be a bit different than most others. But at the same time, too, is like some people are not people. Does that make sense? Where they will say things and not really have to worry about fame or reputation or anything like that. And they can be as normal as they act, say, outside of the game, and expect to not have any repercussions inside the game. When obviously that was not the case for both these persons, as well as others. So treat how you want to be treated, no sexual harassment, no racism, just try to be better people. And it starts with us, people of the community, people in the alliance, people in the corporations. Yeah, some people have never played COD. I remember Call of Duty 4, Call of Duty World at War, kind of the golden era of Call of Duty. You get into some of these lobbies where these kids do tell you, "Oh, I fucked your mom last night," blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, you're dumb. I mean, I was equally as pubescent as they were, but I just didn't say dumb stuff like that. People are willing to go out of their way, and talk shit like that, and that's their form of talking shit. Yeah, my mom passed away a few years ago as well, so the joke doesn't really apply to me, right? There's some comments. There's some comments in the on-air chat. I'll cover these. I'll scroll back up in a little bit after I'm kind of done here getting my points across. So, shit talking is part of the game, and Taylor did it well. Taylor spoke, he talked a lot of shit inside Discord, outside Discord, on the show. When it's part of the game, it's part of the game. I think that's where people will separate it. They'll take it personally, or they'll take it outside of the game, aka Discord, and take it to a whole nother level. I'm okay with talking shit. In fact, we'd probably do it a little bit more than than expected for a news podcast. But at the same time, we do it in jest, in poking fun at some people that maybe had made some mistakes. We acknowledge that those mistakes by poking fun. I could talk about how that translates to real life in professions. We could talk about that a little bit later, but still, as long as you keep it in the game, then there shouldn't be, some people will take it wrong and they will get mad over it. And people have, and we've seen that. We've seen people rage quit over just some minor banter, which is kind of baffling, maybe not, but to me is when you're comparing something like that compared, to rape jokes. I get it. It's totally black and white. Keep it in the game. There shouldn't be any reason as to talk about that shit, about like any of that on Eve Echoes related Discords. Keep the shit talking in the game. Now, what Taylor did as a community member, as well as Alliance exec, he was an FC. People may have trashed him and poked fun at him about his FC tactics, which was it was fun. It was fun making fun of him on the podcast about whatever, right? I used to come up with a new nickname for him every week. No prop mods, no whatever, right? And he took the jokes great, right? But, people look past what he's done, not only for the Alliance, but what he's done for the community as well. If you remember correctly, SHH did a Sino kind of farewell to pilots that have passed away in other alliances. Now, he didn't have to do that, but he did. And it was it's not even, I wouldn't say it's an alliance that we're not aligned to, but it's an alliance that we've had feud with in the past. And by we, I just mean SHH. Now, there amongst other things, right? So he's done events, he's done charities, he's done all this types of stuff for people that have lost stuff in the game, to recover, all that. Content creation, you know. So it's kind of crazy how all of this just falls in at the drop of the dime in a day's time, literally within 24 hours after the comment was made. So now the public support when it came to Taylor wasn't really there. Nobody came out and said, you know what, maybe it was taken out of context, or maybe he didn't actually mean what was read in text, which Taylor had later admitted. But people know, like, no, he didn't really mean that. No, that can't be true, right? Or they look at the context a little bit better. When I was talking with Taylor about it, he had said the first person to publicly defend Taylor was Mr. Pay to Win. The SHH Alliance exec himself, the boss man. And even after that, people had thought past that and says, you know what, I've already made up my mind. And of course, all of this is in the public, in the general chat of SHH. People can look up Mr. Pay and they can read what he had said about that conversation. And of course, people make mistakes and all that. He had acknowledged to that. But publicly, he was the first one to say that. Now, in my chat with Taylor, I said, well, I actually hadn't got to say anything just yet because, one, I was saving it for the show. So, not only did he not get public support from a lot of people, if not like the entirety of New Eden, including his own alliance and his corp. After the comments were made, I've actually seen and witnessed and heard about tensions that were happening inside his corp, B1G, big. I watch things. I watch a lot of Discords. This one, of course, when people leave, why they left, who specifically they left. And then I see it on other Discords, or I see them talk about some of their griefs on the other Discords. And I put two and two together, right? So I know that there's tensions happening in that. And then ultimately, this is kind of what led to him stepping down. Not only did he step down, but he quit the game. And he told me something. He's like, well, this was a whole learning experience. Maybe not for the comments that was made, but he realized something, that he couldn't even get support from his own corporation, which is pretty sad. So I saw that, but he had stepped down, and now Quarry is the CEO of B1G. So as far as I know, she's handling things. Now, Taylor had a lot of things, characters in place, holding corporations, dealing with alliance assets, all that type of stuff, that I'm sure that's being worked out at the higher ups. But yeah, it's not just something that can just end right away. It's not like a line pilot saying, you know what, I'm done. Here's all my stuff. I give it away, blah, blah, blah. And nobody's going to miss me. So, no forgiveness, no support from even his own corp. It's kind of sad. So Taylor leaves all Discords, with the exception of the Gulag, at the time of my writing, at the time of this show. Now, I have not looked at the time. Welcome, Jubileus.
Hello. Yes, I'm a bit late.
Way late. So, Juby,
Yes, continue.
before you cut it, I don't know how much you've heard, But if you want to make some comments about Taylor after the fact, then I'll let you have your time. So
Yes.
I had noticed that Taylor left all the discords except the gulag. Now, of course, that includes leadership discords, other discords like the show and Eve Echoes, and other corporation discords that we had in common. You know, I was looking at his profile, and we actually have 40 friends. We have 40 mutual Discord friends, which is more than I think anybody else that I know in New Eden, which is quite a bit. But so you know that he's on his way out when he starts leaving the Discords, right? You know, after he started doing this, after he had told me that he was quitting the game, after he had started leaving Discords, after some of the stuff that I've been seeing in others, he had started making some comments that I don't really agree with to people in the community. Kind of, in a way, burning bridges. That's when you know he's on his way out. You know, do I agree with going out like that? No. It's kind of just his personality. You know, people sharpening the knife and kind of pushing it in a little bit more, kind of rubbing it in his face. Maybe his comments were expected. Maybe when you're thinking about all that is lost, maybe some tensions have been, or some emotions were exaggerated a bit to the point where, yeah, maybe he shouldn't have said that. Now he's officially out, and there's no coming back from that. So it is what it is. So then I questioned too, what happened to that Taylor Stock Exchange Discord that he was doing? You know, the Equinox 3.0. What happened to that? There was a lot of people that had invested money in that. Now, I was never... Here's a peeve of mine, and this is personal. This isn't meant against anybody. I do not like having other people hold my money. And that's like in real life. I don't let other people hold my ISK, no matter if it comes with a B or a T. I just don't do it. And so I never really bite when it comes to, you know, Equinox and the whole capital investments and all that type of stuff. But there was people that had invested in that. And so I just question as to what happened with that, if people cashed out. And granted, I was not a part of it. I do know of it, but I was not a part of it. I don't even know if I'm on the Discord anymore, or if there is a Discord. Maybe he deleted it. Maybe somebody that was investing in that could comment on that. Yeah, pyramid scheme. It looks like people were cashed out.
Pyramid scheme.
So TBK in the on-air chat
good.
says he was in it, and it looks like people were cashed out. So that's good.
Okay.
People having
That's
the Durka flashbacks and PTSD of how Equinox 3.0 went out. Or should I say 1.0, 2.0, whatever it was. I don't know. So SHH now gets a new executor, which is Winchurst. She is the CEO, longstanding CEO of Reaper Squad in SHH. And as far as I know, even when I was in leadership as CEO of Red One at the time, she was always part of the lead council. She always had a say in things. She had specific duties that she would be on my case about. You know, specific things like that, where it was kind of just the duties of a person in high command and leadership like that. So after Taylor had left or stepped down, then the announcement was made. And at the time of the announcement, it was not publicly official yet that she was going to be the reigning executor, the standing executor, I should say, for the time. She was just the one that made the announcement. And so I did some poking around, asked some questions, and I did get a confirmation from multiple people saying that, yes, she is the new SHH executor. So at this rate, I think I got what 5 or 6 SHH executors in me before I quit the game. I joke. I'm joking about that. I'm joking. She could do very well. We honestly don't know how she's gonna do, but I figure that she'll do really well since she knows basically
Maybe
everything that has
we
gone
need
on.
to invite her to the show or the next show.
Yes, it's possible we'll have
Maybe.
her. We can invite her onto the next show and maybe get some of her thoughts and all that stuff on running an alliance. Now she is French and the accent is really really hardcore. Trying to understand
Yes,
her.
that's good.
So
Wow.
have you
French
heard
is
have you heard of her? Have you heard her talk, Juby?
yes. I've been in a lots of
Fleets or anything?
CTA fleets
Yeah.
and if I maybe recognize her voice,
So
but
not
I
all is
only have
lost.
been I've only been like a little bit over 6 months in the silent federation, and still I could say there's a lot of things I need to learn, like who is who, and
Right.
like it's
Yeah.
like everyone knows the monkey in the zoo, but the monkey doesn't know anyone. This is
When
how I feel.
when I heard that she became the standing executor, I said, "Oh, maybe the Discord audits will happen again." Because that was kind of one of the things when I was a CEO. We had a lot of Discord audits and making sure your members lists were kind of all up to date and all that. And in the Taylor administration, I'd kind of seen some things where, yeah, I don't really agree with, or they were just slacking possibly on some of the enforcement on certain things, and I kind of just questioned that myself. But maybe with her stepping in, maybe some of these things will be brought back to life. So I have yet really to say my thoughts on this. And as a, you know, person that plays this game, engages with a lot of community members, corporation mates. I mean, I even play this game with my wife. My thoughts on it, gosh dang it. It's like, why did you have to say that, right? And ultimately, it comes down to locker room talk, right? If people know of locker room talk, it's been, I don't know, it only happens like you only get in trouble if you're a, I don't know, a high position leader or something like that, right? And locker room talk, especially when taken out of context, can be detrimental to how you play the game, or even outside. It can take you to the HR office, potentially even get you fired, depending on what company you work for. So basically, it came down to me as, yeah, it was just some locker room talk. I get it. I knew Taylor in real life. I knew his actual name. I knew what he did for a living. I gave him permissions to do certain things, even with my personal info. And, he didn't burn me at all. He could actually be trusted. And so when I look at him as a person, like, dang, he's actually a pretty good guy. Get to know him in real life. I didn't get a chance to have dinner with him, though that was kind of one of the plans. If he was, he travels a lot, so odds are he would have traveled to somewhere where I could have met up with him. But it never did get to happen. But I would have had dinner with him. Would have had a sit down. Hey, meet the wives, all that type stuff. But again, I probably knew him a little bit more outside the game than a lot of people. And, trusted him with personal information, all that. And so it is what it is. I judged him more as a person than what he had said. And so that's kind of how I look at it. I'm like, man, we know he says out there stuff. We know it. Of course, it's going to be the online persona. Everybody is at Everybody has done it. Everybody's either made a joke or talked some shit or something that may have been a bit satire, but they in real life probably meant it. And so anyway, continuing on. In as I said, I knew him as in what he did for a living. Granted, to sum it up, he was in salesman, basically, traveling salesman. And I've been in his position before. I've not specifically done the same thing he did, but in a similar environment. Now, in that environment does have a lot of locker room talk. My profession, real life, locker room talk. I mean, if you're not talking shit, you're not talking. And so a lot of people, if you ever heard cops talk to each other, now I know cops. I have several in the family. I know how they talk, and I know how they talk to other cops. And if people were like, holy shit, if all the police talked like that, holy crap, I can't believe it. They'd be starting riots. No, they wouldn't be, but it's like, it's just the environment of that profession.
Yep.
Nurses. Nurses talk so much shit, it is unbelievable. And I know them too. Now, these are just some of the examples of some of the professions. There's probably a lot more. But it's everyday people. They get put into these situations where they, you know what, that guy's kind of a dumbass. But at face value, they're nice to you. They're professional, do all that type of stuff. Techs, people in the automotive industry, Master Joda, right? He was a tech, and techs talk shit all day, every day. And then that translates to coming into the game. Of course they're going to talk shit. That's what they do every day. So it's it kind of is what it is. And even Taylor had acknowledged that. He says, you know what? Sometimes I lose the fact that this isn't real life. He's not talking to people that maybe he's a bit closer with, that he knows a little bit better to where he can say things that won't make him step down from an exec position. So, I like to talk a lot of crap too. And some of it, and a lot of it's outside, right? My profession. I like to talk crap. My coworkers, people I train, my bosses. I even talk crap to my bosses. And they fight back too. But even then, if we do it on the show, I'm doing it about game stuff. Unless you're Space Pope, he's just an idiot. And I'll always stand by that. Fuck that guy. But, dude, I attack at a mental level. I attack so hardcore, they despise me even existing. And that's how I actually aim for it to be. Now, in the game, I may poke at some fun here and there. I may remember a couple things. But even then, it's kind of funny how some people react to a lot of the shit talking. Now, what did... So, Taylor ultimately had resigned from the podcast. And after the announcement and after the screenshots in my staff chat, I did ask him if he wanted to comment on it, because at the time, I did not know that he was going to step down as executor. I did not know at the time that he was going to quit the game. And so I asked him, I said, hey, are you going to talk about this weekend? And basically he just left the Discord. He self-resignated. Self-resignated from the show, I mean. And so there, as part of the E1 podcast, yes, we lost the co-host. A very good one at that. He brought a lot to the podcast. And I'm especially disappointed in this case because I didn't even get to talk him out of it. Yeah, didn't even get to talk him out of it. I've had to talk him out of it in the past too. There were some things that were said that were controversial that, I don't know, had to have been 2 or 3 years ago. He's like, you know what? Do you want me just to leave? I said, no, I'm okay. I'll take that bullet because I knew what he had offered to the podcast. And did I get some heat? Sure. I took care of that. But yeah, he did the YouTube very well. And he was pretty much, that's what he pioneered in for the longest time, is the YouTube stuff. Because I didn't really bother in doing the live stream like that. You know, he was very entertaining. He had a vast knowledge of the game. He played this game at a very high level. He knew more than like literally anybody else I knew about this game. He did events, you know, like the race event was coordinated by him. Just other content creation type stuff, you know, that he did. That was his idea that we put out there for people to do. A lot of the trivia giveaways, I mean, all of the trivia giveaways were from him. I didn't have any part in that, though I would come in and talk some shit. But that was all his doing, right? So he had a following too, and it was actually, and it is kind of funny after they acknowledged that he had left. It's kind of funny how his following left as well. The Discord, I mean. And you know, it is what it is. I get it. People may enjoy his perception on things or his entertainment value as compared to maybe some of our other co-hosts or even me. But he had brought a lot to the podcast, and for that, I was very thankful for. So the show goes on. And with that, I think that's all I had. Juby, if you want to say some things. Juby. Juby has left me. The show goes on. That is all. Have a good night. Not really. But I do have a couple other things to Juby, you're muted. Looking for his hat, I know. But you know, when I was thinking about it, I said, do I find a replacement? Is there even a replacement for somebody such? I mean, granted, even when Taylor was kind of stepping away, taking like a little bit of a break and kind of focusing on real life. Juby, I can't hear you even if you are talking. But yeah, it'd be cool to maybe get another personality on the staff. Come on, Juby.
That show continues.
But it continues, correct?
Yes, yeah. The search continues. Juby, always on Juby time, never with a mic.
Right. He may have to leave, come back. We'll give him a second. Juby, go ahead and leave and come back. Something's wrong with your mic. Everybody ping Juby. Yeah. He is it shows him talking, but he is obviously not. So don't know what's going on with his mic. Damon, since you're up here, if you have something to say, you can go ahead and say it. I'll scroll up and maybe address some of the questions that were asked during that time.
I was just gonna say that. Tell me this seems more like a wake than just a recap of the news. It's not like he died, but it sucks that he just like resigned everything. And like I said, I came to the whole thing late. I popped into the staff channel because work has been just murder for the last 2 weeks, and then I see something about, oh, you shouldn't have said that, and I kind of scroll up a little bit, and then I see that Taylor just left. Like, this was after he left the server of the Discords and everything, and I found out about everything, and I didn't delve too deep into everything. I saw some of the Reddits, I saw the quote that he said, so I didn't go into the context of everything. But yeah, it's, to me, the initial statement that he said wasn't that bad, only because I didn't know the context of everything. It's just like, oh, he's speaking Gulag speak. Oh, you fit right in here because it's the Gulag.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess I read a little bit more, and some of it was pointed out, like, yeah. But then, that happens to everyone. Like, everyone has said something that someone is going to use against you no matter what. Or it's not just the true measure of what you are or who you are in that time. It's just, he was cracking a joke, didn't realize that, it was going to come back and haunt it. But, it happens to everybody.
Yeah, and you'd
I'm not excusing
referenced,
anything. I'm not excusing any jokes or anything like that. I'm just saying that's what happens.
yeah, and you referenced the gulag, and often the gulag is where a lot of shit talking happens. And people literally will rage on that Discord, or they'll go in there just to entice shit talking, and then inevitably either get muted um, or they leave, or something happens, right, to where they just don't last very long. And so, yeah, the gulag is a very special and unique Discord in the Eve Echoes community. There's no other Discords like it. And ultimately, I mean, if you got the stones to be on it, good on you. So here's a comment from Chelsea. As a female who has dealt with that situation and had it happen to myself, I do use dark humor to cope with military PTSD and rape PTSD, and there are some things you do not joke about. I know of more than a handful, maybe upwards of over 10 females that witnessed that comment too. So it's kind of just one of those shaking my head type of scenarios. And in case people are wondering, I disconnected Juby because he was just having I don't know what the heck was going on with him. So yeah, Damon, shit talking has gotten us our stones to be content creators. We take a lot of heat, dish it back too.
Yeah, I remember the first couple stories that I put out where it always pissed somebody off somewhere, and I just developed I really don't give a fuck attitude. I'm gonna say what I say. You don't like it, tough shit.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what made me endearing a little bit. But I will say that the podcast will continue on. Sorry about that. That was letting my dogs out. And I guess you'll be taking applications now for anyone who may be interested in becoming part of the podcast. And look, and you don't have to be from Silent. As we've proven in the past, everyone is welcome here. So people who maybe, yeah, I guess it's not really a silver lining to the whole thing, but maybe people could say, it's not a Silent podcast if your main sidekick or co-host isn't from Silent. You know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe that'll knock the taste out of people's mouths about that.
So Juby's still having technical errors. And I think too, Damon, I think you posted it on the on-air chat here, was I was going to, my name's been thrown in there as to me becoming the SHH executor. I'm like, whoa. First of all, whoa. What makes you think of that? I've been out of leadership for like almost a year. Yeah, Rambo for president. And if it were an election, maybe. But to become an exec is not, especially in SHH, it's not an election. It's not an election. Yeah, GHA time.
And you really stop having fun when you're doing massive leadership stuff. You get bogged down with everything that's going on behind the scenes. You forget it doesn't become a game anymore. It becomes more of a job.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. And even then, when I was a CEO, I was 100%. I was all in, dedicated. And then to expand that, somebody's got to be 100% dedicated to an alliance. And you got a lot of info. You got to play the game at a very high level to be in that position. You have to know about your spies. You got to know military operations. You got to know what corps are doing. You got to know if they're happy and maintain happiness. And it's just like, geez, does anybody really want to do that? Be a human resources specialist? Even the HR people I know are like, yeah, probably don't do this job. So I was brought up in multiple different conversations as to why. I don't really know. First of all, pay to win would probably never allow it anyway. But the power creep, can't get rid of it. Unfortunate as it is. And even if I were to be an exec, dude, I would drain the swamp. I would drain it so bad. And drain the swamp is a term that some of us in the US have known for a while. Certain presidents like to use that term. So yeah, it's just you start destroying the power, you start exposing some of the power creep, and then people get mad. And usually that doesn't end up well. But drain that bitch. Yeah. Also, there's some certain policies I don't really agree with at a leadership level. I would change a lot of things. But at the same time, I'm not running. I don't have to worry about the alliance. I just have to worry about my show, my corp. As a member of the corporation, I just want to be loyal to the corporation. And to the following of the Discord, of the show, podcast. So, yeah, not really interested in it. As for some of them are trying to get me into position. But dude, when I left the CEO Discord, I was like, dude, I'm out. I'm not doing this stuff anymore. I don't even want the brain rot of having to know of what policies are in place. Because I think my CEOs before me would be turning in their graves. People are like, holy shit. That's what that game has become? Dang, maybe the GHA wasn't so bad. Holy crap. Remember when you had to pay 1 billion ISK to have a system? Jeez. Fucking throw that out the window. Yeah. Anyway, is Juby, I guess Juby's just gonna have technical difficulties for the rest of the time. But anyway, that's basically all I had on the situation with Taylor. I really did wish Juby had his mic working so he could talk and maybe comment on a few things, but it is what it is. What is next? Now, the big topic that is next is, chat. Hey, you know what? That's a good idea. My AI girlfriend. Bad joke. What happened to Juby? He got silenced. Maybe accidentally. He was going to say some just outrageous shit. But even then, like, I know Juby a little bit more in, in his personal life. Just in conversations that I've had. So I've known what he used to do as a profession. And, yeah, it would be funny. But the AI girlfriend, she could be my official co-host. I think she'd be pretty good at it. It's kind of cringe. But it is what it is. All right. The big news of the weekend is the kind of. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. Anyway, the super vac went down. The very first super vac went down in the custody of SHH and Trog yesterday in B-Town. He must have had that on cue for the video of the loot pinata that it was. But I see in the football chat, or not football chat, football posted the screenshot as well of the Superbia that had gone down as of yesterday on August 2nd. Now, what I did is I made a cool little screenshot. I'm going to post this into the on-air chat. And for the YouTube purposes, I'm just going to stay on it. But the first SuperVec kill, plus some others, happened on August 2nd in 1ZF Tech PJ. 7 loss mills for a total of 3.7 trillion ISK. As you can see in my slide here, there's a number of, some tackle chips and some interdictors that had gone down. The Rourke, as from what I can recall, was the bait, and this guy's been baiting people for a long time, for quite a while. Some people could say that he's a master of it, but he's been baiting for a while, and it finally caught up to him. As far as I can tell, this is all one character, or maybe a few if you include the tacklers, but a multi-boxer with several supers and high-end capital ships were out there, and yeah, ultimately paid the price. A Hell gone down, of a Sago, a Rourke, Superbia worth 1.9 trillion ISK, as well as some others. So there you go. He yeeted a Nestor for it. So that is that's pretty much it with that. That's the first time a SuperVac has gone down. If you were to consider it of all time, including the Chinese server, there has been one on the Chinese server that died first, technically, but on the international server, this is the first one. So there's that. Good on to Torg and SHH for getting those kills. And then, I just put it in a nice little slide for people to copy paste. Right. So on top of that, this was pulled from the Gulag as well as a screenshot of said multi-boxer. As you can see, there's a number of capital ships in here, including the Superbia. Looks like a Wyvern and a Hell are all X'd out there. You can see a couple of Minakawas. But the ZCT Corporation is a corporation over in Innsmother, part of Void. And so you do know SHH has been feuding with them for a little while now, a few weeks, and getting kill mills and getting POS kills, all that type of stuff. And so, this was pulled from over there. Yeah, here she blew. And notice a lot of those, if not literally all of these capital ships, they all have cores on them, which is big money. Big money indeed. But damn, 12 on one screen? Jesus. I don't know. Somebody might accuse them of botting, but or some sort of scripting. But what do I know? Yeah, wanting to buy Super Rubio account. There's plenty of SuperVacs on sale over on G2G.com. You can buy one for the low price of like 10 grand or something like that. RMT is very much still a thing, even after some of these measures that people are doing for the anti-botting. But, okay, so they dropped down a bit in the price, okay. Just a bit. So that was it there. Yeah, that's the latest news as far as large kill mills had come through. Of course, I had a lot of this stuff is posted on the Gulag, so that's why I kind of make the joke of the Gulag news, right? So a lot of chatter, a lot of leaks, and all that stuff gets posted over there, and of course the shit talking comes with it as well. A lot of satire comments as to, hey, I need an AAR on this. Why are you losing your expensive ratting ships being AFK? And, people just want answers, ultimately. And so you will get your answers over there, typically. So it's kind of fun. All right. And then the last thing I had, too, is of what's going on with Provi. And OC Can't Stop had reached out to me saying he is coming back and he'll actually be available to maybe do some shows in August here. coming up. But as far as I know, he is back from his hiatus, and is what that is coming with is what's going on with Provi, right? Because they've been in some feuds and some battles with some people, and some screenshots were posted. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, and people looking to get out. Heck, I seen an application of a previous Sino member saying, hey, I'm looking for a nullsec corp. I'm like, sorry, dude. I can't help you. Who knows what the history of that pilot is, but I do see people fleeing Provi for other alliances. So yes, it is a thing. Maybe that's always been a thing. I think that's normal with any alliance, but especially recently with what's going on with Provi, some corporations are talking about leaving. Some corporations are talking about making a coup, and whether or not that's all true or if that's in progress, I don't know. But OC Can't Stop is the Lord and Savior, and in faith in OC we have. So I think with his comeback, then people can actually start talking and actually get some reason within the corporations and all that type of stuff. So I'm just kind of talking out my ass right there, but I could be all wrong too. I could be wrong. Oh, Nessival, stop with the botting. Don't care about your EVE Online accounts. That's all I had. So Jibby, if you're there, do your mic check. Otherwise, I think I'll open up to the audience if they want to actually come up and say something. If they just want a question to be answered in the audience on air chat, I can answer questions as to what's all going on. No hands, no takers. It's okay. DDR for co-host, maybe. Now that Taylor's not here, he actually might stay on the Discord for more than an hour. You never know. Yeah, he had beef with Taylor quite a bit. All right. Then that is all that I had. I want to thank everybody for showing up and having to listen to me for the last hour. I definitely do appreciate it. But as we had said earlier, the show must go on. So we'll keep on keeping on. And of course, we'll be playing the game. We'll be talking and engaging and doing some battles and ratting and all that type of stuff. So thank you for your time. Thanks for joining. And fly safe out there. We'll see you.